Today we are going to talk about something we have not talked about before, and that is Invisalign. And I'm just going to share my experience with Invisalign overall, and at the end I will kind of say whether or not I would recommend it, but I do think that ultimately that will depend on you. So I hope that more than anything, this video can kind of help you decide whether or not they are the right thing for you, and maybe help you, I don't know, have some more questions that you can ask before you decide which type of treatment that you want. We will be talking about Invisalign, but I think that a lot of the things that I have to say about my experience with it would apply to any retainer type orthodontic treatment. I know that there's some other ones out there that are basically the same thing as Invisalign. Invisalign just happens to be the one that I used, but it's more of that type of retainer style versus a traditional metal braces, if that makes sense. So like I said, I do think that this really is going to depend on you and the type of person that you are, and also the level of maybe, I don't want to say correcting, but you know, how much you are trying to move your teeth within your mouth. For me, it was actually quite a bit. I have a lot of overcrowding on the bottom, so there was a lot of movement that needed to happen. And I also do want to say I won't be including like before and after pics. I don't have them for my orthodontist. I probably could reach out and get them, but ultimately, I mean, you can look at before and after pictures online. That's not so much what I want to talk about. It's more so the process, like, you know, what it is actually like to have to use the Invisalign every day. But I, of course, that is the only experience that I've had. I have not had the experience of traditional braces to compare. But yeah, let's just go ahead and jump into kind of like the list that I have here of things that I wanted to make sure I touched on, and we can kind of talk about them as we go. But the first thing that I just want to say is that they will show you a video when you go in that's like, this is what your teeth would look like after. Your teeth may not look like that. My teeth do not look like what they said it would look like. Again, if you had maybe just one or two teeth that you were hoping to move or something like that and it was pretty minor, chances are it would look like that. But for me, there was just a lot more that needed to happen. So ultimately, it didn't happen. So that's just something to consider. You may actually not get the results that you want, and I do think that had I had traditional metal braces, I think that it probably would have. The other thing to consider is that you cannot eat or drink anything with the Invisalign in, and the treatments do vary as far as like how long you need to have it in for a day. Mine was 20 to 22 hours. So that means literally it was like 2 hours a day that I would be allowed to not have them in, which, you know, you're probably not spending 2 hours a day eating or drinking. But for me, for example, I like to like sip on a coffee drink for a while, and sometimes that would be like, you know, I would like to do it for over more than a few hours, kind of sip it over time, but you can't really do that when you have Invisalign because you are supposed to only drink cold water, not even like regular seltzer water. I don't mean like alcoholic seltzer, like regular seltzer water you cannot drink with your Invisalign. So that's just another thing to consider. One thing I do want to say is I cannot speak to how much regular braces cost compared to this, but I will say that it was kind of expensive. I again think it would depend on how long you needed the treatment for and like how many trays, sets you were going to need. But for me, I ended up paying $4,000 out of pocket after my insurance paid for their portion of it. So kind of a lot. So I guess just like a quick overview of how it works is, I mean, this probably is not news, but you basically get, you know, different trays for, mine was every 7 days, which I think is pretty standard. So you basically would get like 15 trays for 15 weeks and kind of go from there. And then at the end of it, you get one retainer that is like the retainer you wear at night and everything. So that brings me to the retainer that you then wear for the rest of your life. You only get one, at least that's what I got, and I'm assuming that's kind of standard. You only get one that is supposed to be the retainer that you have for the rest of your life, which doesn't sound, I guess, like that difficult, but if you lose it, you need to buy another one, which they told me they run from $800 to $1,000. So they were like, don't lose it. But then they also said, like, they were like, we suggest sometimes if you're going to go away for a weekend that you don't bring it with you. But I'm also supposed to wear it for at least 8 hours a day, like wear it at night, basically. I'm supposed to wear it every night. So it's like I don't bring it with me somewhere for a weekend, and then I don't wear it all weekend. Like that, it's just, I don't like the retainer. I would much rather have a permanent retainer in my mouth personally. I know that if you have one, maybe you're like, no, you wouldn't. It's a lot of work. I would rather have something in my mouth that I just had to clean. Because for one, like even though I have to wear it every day, and I still do wear it every day, I'm supposed to be allowed to take it out for the day and then just put it in for bed every night, or like whenever I go to put it back in after having, even if it's just for like the day and I'm putting it back in that night, it hurts. Like, it is so painful. And I don't know if it's just that my teeth move really fast, so throughout the day they move like so much that when it comes time to put it in at night, I am in like so much pain. So I don't want to not take it with me somewhere for a weekend and not wear it for a weekend, because my teeth are gonna move, and then it's like, what's the point of everything that I just went through? And then I'm gonna put it in again and it's going to be so painful. So I would rather just have something in my mouth, and then I don't have to worry about it. And even if I don't lose it, I've only been using it I ended my treatment at the end of September. So October, November, December, January. I've really only been using it for 4 months, coming up on 5 months. And it's already, I mean, it's just plastic. It's already starting to, like, one part of it, I don't have it in right now, but one part of it on one of my teeth, it's like, it's becoming sharp because it's like chipping away. It's plastic. Which brings me to the next thing that I hate about it, is that it's plastic. So now I've got microplastics basically shedding off into my mouth, which I don't need any more of, like the world is full of it. And then the whole time you're doing your treatment, I don't know how wasteful regular metal I keep wanting to say bracelets. Metal braces are, but you throw away your tray. It's just like a piece of plastic that you throw away once a week. I had my Invisalign for over a year and a half, I think it was. So like, there's just so with all of that being said, I think that maybe Invisalign could work for you. I think if you have maybe something minor that you are going to need a lot of moving for, I think it would work. You probably would only need to use it. I had a friend who only had it for like 4 to 6 months. So, and I think it could even be less than that. I truly do. And in that case, it probably wouldn't cost you a lot of money. You wouldn't have to worry about it so much. But do keep in mind that you still will have that thing with the retainer, where you're only going to get the one retainer to keep for the rest of your life. And it's something that you're going to have to keep wearing. So for me, sometimes I feel like I'm still in my Invisalign treatment, because the retainer is just, it's not something that I necessarily wanted to incorporate into my everyday life for the rest of my life. And it's just that in particular is something I wish that I had considered a bit more before I got into it. But now at this point, it's like, I'm not going to stop wearing it, because I don't want all of that money and time and work that I put in to moving the teeth that I did move to go away. So that part I just don't really care for. And I think that if you are somebody who, I don't know, is very, I don't even know the word that I'm looking for, but just like very on top of things and very maybe routine and schedule, it will work for you. But I don't like having to add another thing to my routine. I don't like having to now brush my teeth, put my retainer in, clean my retainer, take my retainer out in the morning, again, make sure it's clean. Like, I don't want to have to carry it around with me all the time. So it's just, is still a difficult life adjustment, I guess, for me. But maybe if that's not something you would struggle with, like, go for it. Overall, would I recommend Invisalign or that type of treatment based on the experience that I had? No, I would not. I don't think it was worth the money that I personally had to pay. My teeth still don't look how I would necessarily have wanted them to look. Like, if I had known they would look as they do now and I would have had to pay what I had to pay, I wouldn't have agreed to it, basically. Again, I think that your experience could be very different, so I'm not necessarily here trying to tell you not to do it. I just think that maybe there's some really good questions that you could go into it with. Questions that basically I wish I had gone into it with. And I would even maybe recommend getting a consultation from a couple of different orthodontists, because I think the orthodontist that I saw was very quick to say that he thought Invisalign could work for me. And I personally I don't think that it was very feasible for me, and based on the results that I have, I would say it didn't even really work. Like, I think I could go get another set of braces. Like, it didn't really, but I think, again, that's just me. So I think that, or I just wish that I had maybe seen another orthodontist. I had gone to an orthodontist like back when I was in high school, and he had suggested removing an entire tooth. Like, that's how much overcrowding there is, and this orthodontist didn't seem to think that that was necessary. And I'm not saying, I'm not an orthodontist, I do not know, but just based on the results, like, clearly there's not enough space still. So, yeah, just maybe go into it asking, the right types of questions, and maybe, not shop around, but get a few different consultations, because I don't think consultations cost anything, and then you can kind of get different opinions. And if every orthodontist says yes, Invisalign would work for you, it probably would work for you. But I don't know, if there's supposed to become some question, maybe you start to consider another option. I don't know. But that is all I have for this video. If you have any questions about Invisalign, I would be happy to answer them. Like I said, my experience is just my experience. I haven't tried any other type. I haven't tried traditional braces, so I don't know. And hindsight is always 20/20, of course, but it does feel disappointing when you spend lots of money and don't really get the thing that you were expecting to get. So it's not to bash Invisalign or my orthodontist or anything like that. I get every situation is a little bit different, but these are just some things that I wish I had considered or known before I got them. So I hope that it helps you a little bit.